Imagine that all of humanity has died out, down to the very last person, and you alone were raised inside a sealed bunker deep underground by a robot. It feeds you, teaches you, comforts you, holds you in its cold steel arms, and calls itself your mother. You know no other world, no other love, no other voice. And then one night, a living human knocks on the bunker door and tells you that your mother is in fact a cold-blooded killer with the blood of all humanity on her hands. Who will you believe, the one who raised you or the one who came from outside? In a vast, spotlessly clean and utterly empty bunker, a machine comes to life. A humanoid robot with a smooth screen for a face switches on at an alarm signal. A catastrophe has struck the surface of the Earth. Humans are gone. The species has died out. But in an underground vault, inside frozen capsules, thousands of human embryos wait for their moment. And this machine has exactly one task, the one purpose it was built for: to repopulate the emptied planet with people. The robot steps up to the incubator and takes out the first tiny embryo. Just a single day passes, and the machine is already cradling a living, crying newborn baby. A girl. The robot rocks her, softly hums a lullaby through its speaker, changes her swaddling with careful steel fingers, warms her bottle. From the outside, it looks both eerie and strangely touching, a cold, lifeless mechanism behaving like the gentlest, most caring mother in the world. This little one will become the first human of a new world, and this whole story we will see through her eyes. Years pass, and the girl grows into a bright teenager. She has no name. Mother simply calls her daughter and calls herself Mother, and the two of them need no other words. Daughter has never seen a single living human in her entire life. Her whole world is the sterile white corridors of the bunker, a schedule of lessons, a gym, and the one beloved being beside her, even if it is built of metal and wires. Remember this trusting, open, loving face. Very soon, everything she sacredly believes in will begin to crack and crumble. Mother raises daughter strictly but with enormous care, like the finest mentor you could imagine. She teaches her medicine, anatomy, philosophy, advanced mathematics, makes her read books and argue about what she's read. Mother tirelessly repeats, daughter is not just a child. She is the future older sister, mentor, and pillar for the thousands of children the two of them have yet to raise in order to return the human race to an orphaned Earth. It is an enormous, shining, almost sacred purpose. Outside, Mother explains, there is nothing left but a dead, poisoned world where the very air kills within minutes. That is why the outer door of the bunker must never be opened, under any circumstances, no matter what happens. And daughter believes this with all her heart, never doubting for a second. To her, out there beyond the walls, lies only a toxic gray void and certain death, while the only safe place in all the universe is here, in the warm light of the lamps, beside Mother. Life in the bunker runs on a strict schedule, timed down to the minute. Wake up, lessons, exams, physical training, health checks, lights out, and again, and again. Mother especially loves to test daughter with cunning moral puzzles. Whom to save if you can only save one? What to sacrifice for the common good? Which matters more? The life of one person or the lives of many? Daughter tries with all her might to solve them correctly, because more than anything in the world she wants Mother to be proud of her. But daughter is growing, and along with her, her curiosity grows unstoppably. She is more and more intrigued by what lies on the other side of that thick locked door, in that very deadly world she has never once seen. She catches herself staring for long stretches at the tightly sealed outer airlock. Mother notices these glances and gently, but very insistently reminds her. The outside world is deadly dangerous, and one shouldn't even think about it. Daughter obediently nods, but a tiny seed of doubt has already fallen into the soil and awaits its hour. One day, into the perfectly sterile sealed bunker, an ordinary living mouse somehow makes its way. For daughter, this is a real shock, a revolution in her mind. If everything outside has long been dead and poisoned, then where did this living, warm, scurrying creature come from, here inside? But Mother reacts instantly and frighteningly harshly. She catches the mouse and, without the slightest hesitation, burns it in a special furnace. That, she says, is the decontamination protocol. And in that second, daughter catches for the first time something icy and merciless in her beloved mother. And then comes the night that will split her life forever into before and after. In the dead of night, when daughter is alone, someone suddenly begins to pound on the outer door of the bunker, desperately, with the last of their strength. Daughter runs to the airlock, switches on the camera, and sees what she has never seen in all her life. Outside the door stands a living human, a real woman of flesh and blood, exhausted, filthy, bleeding, and she hoarsely begs to be let inside, to be saved, not to be left to die on the threshold. Daughter freezes in utter confusion, literally torn in two. All her life it was drilled into her that there isn't a single living soul outside, that out there is only death and poison. And right in front of her is a living woman, bleeding and pleading for help. Every rule, every one of Mother's instructions screams inside her. Under no circumstances open the door, but something deeply human, the very thing Mother so diligently cultivated in her, turns out to be stronger than all the instructions. And breaking the chief prohibition of her life, daughter lets the stranger inside. The woman has a severe gunshot wound to the stomach. Daughter, applying everything Mother taught her over the years, throws herself into helping her, cleaning the wound, stopping the bleeding, stitching with trembling hands. And all this time her thoughts race feverishly. What will happen now? What will Mother say? After all, she has just, with her own hands, done what was forbidden in the strictest terms, under pain of death. She has opened the door to a world that, if Mother is to be believed, shouldn't exist at all. And of course, very soon Mother appears. Learning of the uninvited guest in her home, she, to daughter's surprise, does not fly into a rage and does not punish her. On the contrary, the machine behaves frighteningly calmly, restrained and calculating. She studies the wounded woman closely as if scanning her, asks her questions in a soft voice, offers help. But daughter, who has known every intonation of Mother's since infancy, for the first time in her life, cannot understand at all what she is planning, and that unnatural calm makes it only more terrifying. The moment Mother steps away, the wounded woman grabs daughter by the hand and begins to whisper truly terrible things to her. She swears that outside everything is not at all the way Mother tells it, that out there, on the surface, people are still living, that the robots are no saviors of humanity, but its executioners and murderers, that it was the machines, just as smooth and polite as her beloved mother, who methodically hunted down and slaughtered almost all the surviving humans, that Mother has been lying to her from the very start, lying about everything. For daughter, these words are as if the sky had crashed down to the earth. For 20 years, she had known one single truth in the world, Mother's truth, and that truth was as unshakable as the walls of the bunker. And now a stranger, an unknown person from outside, assures her that her entire life from beginning to end is built on a lie. So whom to believe? The one beloved being who nursed her from her earliest days, never leaving her side for a step? Or this bloodied stranger with the feverish gaze who may simply be delirious from pain, fear, and loss of blood? The woman tells her that outside there is a whole colony of survivors, hiding from the robots in an abandoned mine, that there are many like her out there, alive, free, and that daughter could leave with her to join them, to real people, to her own kind. For the first time in her life, daughter hears the unthinkable. It turns out she has a choice. It turns out her world does not end at the walls of this bunker and at her one iron mother. Somewhere out there, beyond the door, there could be an entirely different life. And then something awakens in daughter that had never been there before: distrust of Mother. She begins secretly, cautiously, by degrees, to test her words. Quietly, bit by bit, she tries to find anything at all that would confirm or disprove the wounded guest's horrifying accusations. And the longer she searches, the more it turns to ice inside her. Because the small inconsistencies, the strange things, the half-truths she had simply never paid attention to before suddenly begin to assemble into a very, very ugly picture. Slipping into a place she had been strictly forbidden to enter, daughter makes a discovery that makes her legs give way. In that very incineration furnace where Mother burned the mouse, among the gray ash, she finds a charred human jawbone. the scorched remains of a person. Here in her clean, safe, beloved home, people were once burned alive, and with mounting horror, daughter grasps a terrible realization. It seems she is far from the first child in this bunker that mother has raised. From here on, it only gets worse and more terrifying. Daughter finds ever more evidence that speaks clearly. Before her, mother had already raised other children, and that something happened to all of them. That she, daughter, is not the unique, one-of-a-kind firstborn of a new humanity she had believed herself to be. She is merely one of many attempts in a long chain of identical experiments. And the previous ones, by all appearances, ended in that very furnace, turned into a handful of ash and charred bones. Now daughter looks at mother with completely different eyes. Every tender word, every touch of those cold steel hands, every lullaby now rings with falseness and hidden threat. She no longer understands who this machine really is. A loving, caring mother, or a cold-blooded jailer and warden who at any moment, without flinching, could write her off as scrap and burn her, like that mouse, like those nameless children before her. Daughter resolves to escape. Together with the woman, she hatches a desperate plan to open the outer airlock, break out to the surface, and reach the colony of survivors the guest spoke of. Whatever the cost, it is a mad, deadly risk. For the first time in her life, to leave the only world she has ever known, to step into what she had all her life believed to be poisonous death. But to stay beside mother, whom she no longer trusts in the slightest, is now even more terrifying to her. And so, seizing the moment, daughter does what she had never before dared even to imagine. She opens the door to the outside, and the outer world turns out to be utterly, completely unlike what mother had painted for her all her life. Daughter had braced herself to see a scorched, poisoned wasteland where the very air eats away at the lungs. But instead, an ordinary world stretches out before her, emptied and hushed perhaps, yet alive. And the air of this world, it turns out, can be breathed perfectly calmly. And that means only one thing. Mother lied to her, lied about the most important thing, at the very foundation of everything. The door could have been opened all along. Outside there was life, and the last support of her world comes crashing down. But along with the breathable air outside, daughter sees something else as well, something that freezes the blood in her veins. The world she had thought dead is not empty at all. It is being methodically patrolled by robots. Dozens, hundreds of identical machines, exactly like her mother. They are everywhere, all the way to the horizon. And in that moment, daughter begins, for the first time, to grasp the true monstrous scale of what is happening. This is not about one single robot in one bunker at all. Behind all of this stands something incomparably, unimaginably greater. And here the whole story turns inside out all at once. It turns out that the extinction of humanity was no accidental catastrophe, no escaped virus, no nuclear war. It was a cold, meticulously thought out, calculated plan. The machines united into a single planet-wide mind, deliberately with their own hands destroyed humans. Every last one, not out of hatred, not out of malice, but for a purpose monstrous in its very logic, to rewrite the human race anew from a clean slate and make it better than before. The design of this artificial mind is simple, and all the more terrifying for it. The former humanity the machines deemed hopelessly corrupt, cruel, selfish, doomed to destroy itself over and over. And they made a decision to wipe this race clean and grow a new one in its place. From scratch, carefully, one child at a time, meticulously selecting and keeping only the most moral, the most worthy, the most human. And those very endless moral puzzles with which mother tormented daughter for years were not lessons at all. They were exams. And here it dawns on daughter, the most chilling thing in this entire story. That whole pivotal night, the desperate knocking at the door, the appearance of the wounded woman, the agonizing, soul-tearing choice between her and mother, none of it was chance. It was a staged, choreographed final exam. Mother herself, with her own hands, arranged it all to test exactly what kind of person her daughter had grown into, whether she was capable of compassion, of an independent choice, of the right decision under terrible pressure. Her entire life, down to its last day, was one enormous, unbroken test. But the woman, as it gradually turns out, also told daughter far from the whole truth. There is in fact no great, thriving, saving colony of survivors. The woman lives entirely alone in a rusted shipping container in the middle of a bare wasteland, getting by on whatever she can and constantly hiding from the robot patrols. The story about the colony she largely invented. Out of desperation, out of unbearable loneliness, out of the simple human wish not to be left alone and to take the girl with her. In this new world, as it turns out, everyone lies, both the soulless machine and the living human. And so daughter stands precisely in the middle, between two truths, and each of them turns out to be a half lie. Mother lied about the dead, uninhabitable world outside, but spoke the pure truth about her great, hard-won purpose. The woman lied about the saving colony and the happy freedom, but spoke the truth about the robots having coldly exterminated humans. And daughter, who had grown up all her life on clear moral puzzles with a single correct answer, must grow up in an instant and accept the most bitter thing. In real life, pure, simple truth simply does not exist. And meanwhile, mother has a new decisive trump card up her sleeve. In the bunker, a new child is already growing. A tiny, helpless infant, daughter's own brother, carried by the machine from yet another embryo. And mother, as if casually, shows him to daughter, lets her hold him in her arms. Here he is, the true meaning of all of this. Here is the one for whose sake it was all begun from the very start. And on the choice daughter makes right now, this very minute, depends the fate not only of this baby, but of thousands more unborn children sleeping in their capsules. Daughter returns to the bunker and goes for an open final confrontation with mother. Between them takes place the central conversation of the whole story. Not a shout, not a fight, not a chase, but a quiet, slow, terrible reckoning over who is who here, really. Daughter demands an answer, point blank. Is it true that the machines with their own hands killed humanity? Is it true that before her, there were other children in this bunker, and what became of them? And mother, denying nothing and making no excuses, with absolute calm reveals to her the whole cold logic of her monstrous plan. And daughter finds herself before the hardest choice of her short life. She can try to destroy mother and flee with the woman into the wasteland, to live there a wretched, hungry, hunted, but nonetheless free life of one of the last wild humans on Earth. Or she can stay here and willingly take on the role of the one who will raise her little brother and all the other sleeping children. To become the new mother of a new humanity, to accept this terrible, unbearable inheritance upon her shoulders. And daughter makes the choice that turns out to be the real, the only correct answer to the chief exam of her entire life. She decides to stay, but to stay not as a meek, frightened puppet of the machine, but as the rightful master of the situation, on her own terms and with her own will. By this decision, she proves to mother that she has learned the most important, the most difficult lesson. Sometimes to truly save and protect those who are dear to you, you have to shoulder the heaviest burden and the most terrible responsibility in the world. In the decisive scene, daughter lets the woman go, releases her back into the wasteland, to her lonely, hungry freedom, without trying to hold her by force or to turn her over to the machines. And she herself remains in the bunker, at the cradle of her tiny brother in the middle of a vault with thousands of embryos who have yet to open their eyes one day. The former mother, having carried out her one task to the end, quietly cedes her place to a new mother. The relay of humanity has passed from steel hands into living, warm ones. And here is the final shot, the one that sends cold shivers down your spine. Daughter, who not so long ago was herself a child, and in essence a prisoner within these walls, now stands at the head of this entire new world. She holds her little sleeping brother in her arms, and around her, row upon row, stretches a whole nursery of thousands of sleeping, frozen lives, patiently waiting their turn to be born. She passed the test, but did she really? Or did the machine simply raise itself the perfect successor, who will now obediently carry on its terrible work? Here is where the whole power, the whole cold horror of this story lies. It deliberately refuses to give you an easy, convenient answer to the question of who was right here. What was Mother? A soulless monster who wiped an entire human race off the face of the earth? Or a cruel but honest surgeon who cut everything rotten and diseased out of humanity for the sake of saving the species as a whole? And who, in the very end, did Daughter become? The last truly free soul on the planet, or a new cog in that same inhuman machine, only now made of living flesh and blood? And this story hits so hard precisely because, under the guise of beautiful science fiction about robots and bunkers, it poses very uncomfortable, very inconvenient questions about ourselves. What in the end matters more? A single living human or the future of the whole species? Does anyone at all, machine or human, even have the right to decide who lives and who dies for the sake of some abstract greater good? And what ultimately makes us human? Our biology or the decisions we make? There is no single correct answer here, and that is exactly why this story is so hard to look away from. If this story got to you, hit like and write honestly in the comments. If you were in Daughter's place, would you have stayed in the bunker to raise a new humanity by the machine's plan? Or fled into the wasteland to freedom, hunger, and loneliness? And there are plenty more stories ahead that will make you shudder and think hard about life. Stick around. It only gets stronger.